Hey fantastic people, welcome back to F1ntastic Gaming. So we're back here with F1 2020 My Team Career Mode episode 12 today for the British Grand Prix. And this is a very important episode for our career because we have a lot of important admin to do. And as you can tell from the title of this video, we might be getting a new teammate today. Yeah, I'm so excited to see what we're gonna do about our teammate. But first, we have to deal with some sponsors. We have to renew our contracts with two of our secondary sponsors, or we can get new sponsors. So for the first one, I'm choosing Sunburst because they have a reasonable sponsor goal and they have a good bonus and there's a good amount of money. So I'm going to sign with Sunburst. I think it's a good decision. And for the second sponsor, we're just going to renew with DSB Optics because they're really good sponsors, good goal. I think we should re-sign with them. And yeah, let's get into the teammate part now. This is the exciting part. This is the thing I'm pumped about because we might be getting a new teammate today. Now I'm looking at Nicholas Latifi. He might not be like that much of an improvement. He might be actually worse, but he is an F1 driver and that has its own benefits. But I don't think we can approach him because we don't have enough money. Last episode we purchased a facility upgrade that we definitely didn't need and it cost us around $1 or $1.5 million. And honestly, if we didn't buy that, we could have gotten an even better teammate than Nicholas Latifi. And yeah, I'm just kicking myself right now because that was such a stupid decision. And but now we're paying the consequences because now we can only approach Nick De Vries or Jack Aitken or another F2 driver. Nick De Vries is obviously the best option because he is the F2 champion for 2019. So, you know, this is the best option we have right now. And we're approaching him. Let's see what he says.
Here, you can make an offer to your driver. The more you offer, the greater the chance of them agreeing to it. But be careful not to insult drivers though. If you do, they might refuse to deal with you anymore in this negotiation period.
So this is it. This is where we approach for the money, and I'm gonna go with medium risk. And he declined the offer. He declined the market value. We offered him as market value $2 million, and he declined the offer. And now I don't think we can approach him yet again. So yeah, we just can't approach him anymore. It's over with Nick De Vries, and I'm definitely not going with Jack Aitken because he's even worse than Nick De Vries, and he's not as good as my teammate either. So yeah, I'm literally stuck with Jordan King. I mean, not such a bad thing, but, you know, I just wanted improvement. And yeah, so we're approaching Jordan King. He has accepted the offer. We're going to go with low risk here because I don't want to take any chances anymore after what has happened with Nick De Vries. And yeah, pretty disappointing, but hey, we were left with no choices. We made a couple of mistakes on the way, and yeah, this is what we get. And Jordan King, I think we can develop him a little bit this year. We can maybe by the end of the year, hopefully he can get points for us. But otherwise, this is what we got, and now we can focus on the other admin, like filling in the activity timeline, because we have some time left to the race weekend, and we have an invitational event in this episode. So there's race simulations for the second driver, there's an aero equipment upgrade, and there's durability team building, and now we force through time until the invitational event, which is a time attack invitational event at Japan in a classic car. And yeah, I'm really excited about this invitational event. Let's get into it.
Now, while today's classic exhibition event has no direct impact upon the Formula One World Championship, you better believe that with their reputations on the line, the drivers down there are still hungry to show that they've got what it takes to get a win.
So the objective of this invitational event is to complete a 3-lap race in the short circuit at Japan under 2 minutes and 15 seconds. If we pass this invitational event, we will get $150,000 and 1,000 acclaim. So now we're coming through the final corner to start this 3-lap time attack invitational event, and you can see it's in 2 minutes and 15 seconds, so the clock has already started counting down. And as we're coming down this main straight, I suddenly notice the lack of grip, and you know, this is really difficult because Suzuka in normal F1 cars and modern F1 cars, it's already quite difficult, this S section, to get it right and to keep the car on the track. But with this car, it is much more difficult. You can see we're coming through these corners, and now we just have to keep it on track. We have to try not to spin and get a big snap of oversteer. I got snaps of oversteer in almost all the corners. It was really hard to just keep the car in a straight line. And as we come on to lap number 2 of 3, you can see we have 1 minute and 25 seconds left. I think that's gonna be enough as we move on to the end of lap number 2, cutting the corner a little bit because I realized I thought that we're a little bit short on time. I think a lap around the circuit in this car takes around 50 seconds, but however, I'm feeling a little bit of tire wear now. I mean, it's not normal to feel tire wear after just a couple of laps, but the thing is, you start losing, because you're scrubbing the tires so much, you start losing a little bit more grip. And now coming through these corners, we only have around 30 seconds left, which isn't that good for this whole S section and then those last couple of corners before coming down the main straight. But suddenly I realized that, okay, I've got to step it up. You can see we're pushing super hard, really difficult to keep the car turning in the right direction. We've only got less than 10 seconds left across the line. With 5 seconds left on the clock, we finished the invitational event. And yeah, that was super close, but we passed the invitational event. Everything's good. It doesn't harm the championship, doesn't affect the championship, but it just does affect your claim and your reputation. So yeah, it is important, not too important, but it is important in a way. And yeah, this experience of driving this car, it just showed me how difficult it is to drive these cars, and the drivers who used to drive these cars in the 80s and the 90s, they just had so much more skill. It was just so difficult for them, but still they held out and they managed to drive these cars. And people like Alain Prost and Ayrton Senna, they actually won championships in these cars. And now we're coming back to the headquarters, and we've got the acclaim, we've got the cash, and now we're forwarding through time to the race weekend. The upgrades have come through, and all the durability, team building, and all the timeline stuff, that's already happened as well. And now Carl reminding me about something. As I mentioned, the upgrades have come through, and I'm just checking how close we are to Haas, and we're actually not that close, and it actually hasn't shown that the upgrades have come through on this graph because we've not actually gone to the race weekend. And now we have to change the control electronics because they're pretty worn out, and we've completed enough race weekends on them so that we can change them. We now have a press interview.
Good day today. Let's have your take on it. Do you think your teammate was enjoying themselves in front of their home crowd?
I went with the positive option straight away.
Interesting result today. Would you say that you're happy with your
I
performance?
also went with the positive option. Yes, I really enjoyed myself out there today.
Great.
And yeah,
Well,
that's
that's
one
everything.
thing I always do in the press interviews. It helps our claim. It just keep everything good, make sure everything sounds good. And now we're on to tier 2 for the podium pass, new livery. And after the practice sessions, these are the resource points that we gained. We got a lot of resource points, so now our total is 1,627. So we definitely can get some upgrades now. And in terms of acclaim, the boost was not too big, but it was good enough. And yeah, the acclaim boosts nowadays are not really that big. Coming to the R&D tree, you can see we're purchasing a major upgrade on the engine side of things, the ERS upgrade. And now that we have around 502 resource points, I'm gonna wait until next episode, either before the practice sessions or after the practice sessions, and I'm gonna either purchase a minor or a major upgrade on the chassis or aero side of things. Not on the durability, but I think the chassis and the aero, we should and we can purchase upgrades because I think that would really benefit the car so that we can match the aero and the chassis to the engine power. And now going through some final checks before heading into qualifying. So we're getting straight into qualifying, coming through the final corner to start our first flying lap on this new set of soft tires, coming through the first couple of corners, going through here with a lot of confidence. I really enjoy this track, so I'm really looking positive here, feeling positive, and I think that we can do really well here. Coming through this chicane, we didn't do too well on the loop, but now coming through Aintree, opening DRS for the Wellington straight. Now we're gonna cut to the end of the lap. We're coming through the Vale chicane. This is our first lap of qualifying. Running a little bit wide on the exit, but coming through club corner, coming across the line. What's it gonna be? It's a 1:26.6, and it's a P4 right now, just behind Lando Norris. George Russell slots in behind us in P5. Obviously, not many cars have put in lap times, but we're behind McLaren, which is quite surprising because usually we're doing better than them. We're usually higher up the field than they are. But we're starting the second lap of qualifying. Hopefully we can do better than the first one, and we are gaining time coming through the first couple of corners. I'm feeling that new grip. For some reason, when I come through Village on the exit, I usually do run wide. It's really difficult to keep the car on the racing line at that moment, but now we're only in P11 right now, which is quite disappointing, even though we gained quite a lot of time on that lap. But now on this new set of tires, the third set of tires, I think we don't have much time left in qualifying. is gonna be our final lap of qualifying. We've gained around 3.5 tenths, 4.5 tenths coming through the Vale chicane, and now the final corner. What's it gonna be? Coming across the line, we've set a personal best lap time, and now we look in the bottom left corner and it is only P11, which is very, very disappointing. If we look at our form from the past couple of races, we've been qualifying really high. We just missed out on the podium last time out in Austria, but now we just couldn't get higher up than P11 because we just didn't have the pace to do that. And yeah, we're quite far behind the lead. We're about a tenth behind the top 10, so we definitely had room for improvement there. And yeah, earlier we saw that we actually achieved the podium pass challenge. I'm not sure what that was, but yeah, we can see we're finishing behind the McLarens, behind the Red Bulls. Racing Point doing a fabulous job, qualifying P4 and P8 with Sergio Perez in P4 and Lance Stroll in P8. But yeah, Racing Point, McLaren doing a lot better than we are, and I think we just need to step it up in the race. We need to push harder. Jordan King in his home Grand Prix only qualifies P21. Yeah, so that's a benefit of not having such a good teammate, that they can't really get past P21, P22. But yeah, we actually got quite a few warnings because we were pushing so hard, so we were kind of struggling with the car. But now we have a press interview.
Great work out there today. Let's have your thoughts. Are you happy with where you'll be on the grid tomorrow?
I'm gonna say I'm excited to be this far up the grid. Just a positive option.
Do you feel that your teammate put on a good show for their home crowd?
Well, she's already asked me this question, but I'm just gonna say, yeah, he's gonna put on a good showcase, and yeah, just praise my teammate. So now coming to the rivalry screen, you can see Sebastian Vettel definitely outqualified us by far, and in terms of the rivalry, we're losing quite badly. We're losing by 5 points, and yeah, and I don't know why I selected Sebastian Vettel. I don't know why it gave us such hard options for the rivalry. But it's out of our control. There's nothing we can do. Now we can get our head down and just perform in the race.
Great Britain then, one of only 2 countries to have held a Grand Prix in every single year of the Formula One World Championship. And the circuit extends that record further for today's Grand Prix. With good opportunities to overtake at the end of the Wellington and Hangar Straights, there's a lot of potential for close action around the 3.6 miles of the Silverstone circuit. With 18 corners and average lap speeds of around 145 miles per hour, it's also one of the longest and quickest circuits on the calendar. With me today, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Can we talk about Mercedes? What do you make of their performance so far this season?
Well, the atmosphere within that team seems very positive at the moment. Everyone seems like they're in great spirits and having a lot of fun doing what they do, and that's definitely contributed to the performances we've seen.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and starting alongside in P2 is Sebastian Vettel. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Bottas, Perez, Charles Leclerc and Albon, Verstappen, Stroll, Sainz and Lando Norris, Falcon, Gasly, Antonio Giovinazzi and Kvyat, Ricciardo, Raikkonen, Esteban Ocon and Kevin Magnussen, Grosjean, Russell, King and Nicholas Latifi. And now it's time to head down to the track.
I'm aiming for a top 10 finish. I mean, I think we're probably going to be able to do that pretty easily because we're starting in P11. But if I'm being honest, I want to get into the top 5. I think it's very much possible. So I want to try and get into that top 5. And our strategy is we're going to be going 6 laps on the softs, then pitting on lap number 6, and then we're going to be doing 7 laps on the medium tires. Pretty balanced, pretty good. And yeah, I was just playing with the strategy a little bit just to see if this is the ideal strategy that we want. But coming to the setup, 6 wings, the usual balance, and then we go to the lowest tire pressures possible. I think that's the best setup. But now we're coming to 5 red lights for the 2020 British Grand Prix in season 1 of our My Team career mode, and it's lights out and away we go. It's an okay getaway, but we're using the overtake mode, getting the traction. position, and you can see we're using so much slipstream. We're going so fast, but we're 3 wide through turn 1, round the outside of Max Verstappen there. We're side by side with the Red Bull, using the overtake mode as a start, but then we're going down the inside and make a bit of contact with Alex Albon. We've made up so many positions, and now we're about to break into that top 5, and we've done it in the space of only 3 corners. We're up into the top 5, and that is a fantastic start for us, but it's all about maintaining that top 5 position right now. And yeah, we're behind Valtteri Bottas, quite a big gap ahead, since we were squabbling quite a lot in those first 3 corners, but now coming through Brooklands and Luffield now, you can see from the proximity arrows that Alex Albon is right behind us. Moving to the Maggots and Beckett section, we're still on lap 1. We managed to hold out when we were coming through that old main straight, but you can see we got a washer of understeer, and Alex Albon down the inside makes a bit of contact with us. We're still side by side. We squeeze him out at the exit, but he suddenly went for that dive bomb. We're not using any overtake mode, but we are using, which makes he's still there down the inside, as you can see from the proximity arrows, but we squeeze him out. We get that corner, and now Sebastian Vettel is actually trying to overtake the Red Bull of Alex Albon, and you can see that Sergio Perez also, he's behind Valtteri Bottas, so Valtteri Bottas has stolen that podium from Sergio Perez here at the British Grand Prix, so maybe we can go even further beyond P5. You can see from that there are no proximity arrows because we are far ahead of Albon and Leclerc. It was not Sebastian Vettel battling with Albon, it was actually Charles Leclerc, but that was a crazy first lap. Albon going for a huge dive down the inside in the Maggots and Beckett section as we were coming through the chapel curve, but yeah, we just had to squeeze him out there. I don't know why he made that dive bomb, but as you can see, it has cost him. And I was talking about maybe overtaking Sergio Perez. I don't think that's gonna happen now. It's a bit too late. We couldn't get past him on this lap, but you can see that Alex Albon catches up again, but then he actually slows down on the straight for some reason. Very surprisingly, he slowed down on the straight. I thought he would go for that move. I would have gone for that move. I would have used my engine power, but he slowed down on the straight. He didn't get the move done, and you can see we're still quite close to Sergio Perez. I just don't think we can do an overtake on him because that's going to be a lot more difficult. We don't have the pace for that. But coming on to lap number 3, you can see Alex Albon again down the inside he goes. We leave him the space, but coming through the farm curve, you can see that we had much more momentum, much more speed around the outside, and now we can keep that position secure. But it's secure for now because again we're hitting washers of understeer, hitting a lot of understeer. The racing line, you know, we're trying to brake super late, but that's having an adverse effect on us, and we're going deep into the corners. And now I'm trying to make up for it on the straights, but it's very difficult because Alex Albon is not making this easy for me. Moving on to later on in lap number 3, down the main straight, you can see into 2 cops, we're side by side, and now there's yellow flags behind. Albon spun, a bit of his front wing flies off, and that was an absolutely crazy spin. I think it was a half spin, but let's look at the replay cameras. You can see he was trying to make an overtake down into cops. We squeezed him out. I think he made a bit of a mistake. He turned in early. I thought we had that corner because we did, and then he's totally messed up now. I think he even got damaged just from his onboard. You can see he actually turns in a little bit early, and then he leaves no space for himself. Basically, you can see he's using overtake mode. He tries to get alongside us, but coming into cops, he turns super early, then he has to slow down, and then by then he's so far behind. I had that corner, but you can see his steering wheel straight. He's turned left a little bit, so he's supposed to turn right, but he's turning left. His steering wheel straight, and he's basically created that incident for himself. And because he hit us, he has wing damage now, so a fault that it was completely his fault. He's ruined his own race, and yeah, you can see that it's much better for us now because behind there's a big gap to Charles Leclerc, over a second. But as we move on to lap number 4, you can see Charles Leclerc is back within 1 second of us, so I think he has DRS on us, which could be very dangerous because I mean he's in a Ferrari, which is a much faster car than us. It's a top level car, not a top level, but it's still really good, and we're like, you know, our car itself is kind of at the lower level. We're just pushing it to the limit. That's why we're sitting up here in P5, but we have to defend from Charles Leclerc. You can see we're hitting tire and understeer. He goes for the move around the outside at cops. We have the inside line. We run off track a little bit using overtake mode. He's right up our gearbox as we come through the Maggots and Beckett section. Maybe he'll go for an overtake like Alex Albon did in the early laps of this race, but no, he can't because he is holding out until we come through the chapel curve. curve onto the hangar straight. You can see he has DRS. We're using rich mix, using overtake mode. We're using all the energy that we have. He goes for the move round the outside of Stowe corner, and we have the inside line. We're still side by side, and we leave him a little bit of space, squeeze him off the track a little bit, and coming through the Vale chicane now. We've been on board for quite a long time now, almost the whole of this lap, and now you can see as we come through the final corner of this lap that Charles Leclerc could not overtake us just yet. But we move now to later on in lap number 5. You can see we're hitting a lot of understeer because we're really hitting tire wear. Our tires are absolutely gone. We don't have that much grip, but we're still pushing so hard. We're going side by side with Charles Leclerc. You can see he has the RCs past us, but coming through Brooklands, we're side by side. This is a fantastic battle that we're having here. He's trying to go around the outside of the field, but we won't give him the space, and we're still ahead. This was a fantastic move. I really enjoyed that part, but it's not done yet. But you can see he's coming back at us. We go for the inside line again, but you can see that has an adverse effect because now we're so slow on the exit, and he's going for the move through the Maggots and Beckett section. He has the inside line. We make a bit of contact, but now that contact has actually helped us. But Lance Stroll slipping through, slithering through like a snake. He actually nearly got past us, and you can see when we made contact with Charles Leclerc, it was Lance Stroll that was trying to overtake us. Charles Leclerc got completely messed up, and Lance Stroll doing wondrous jobs. They're slithering through, trying to get past us, but he definitely got past Charles Leclerc now. And you can see from the bottom right corner, we're using rich mix because we're really struggling with grip, struggling with the pace. But we're moving on to lap number 6. The pit window is open. This is music to my ears because I was so happy that we might actually pit. But I forgot to mention this, but Lance Stroll actually had damage from that incident. He had wing damage. That's why the gap behind is so big. But for some reason, the yellow flags, maybe it has something to do with Lance Stroll. Maybe he held up someone, there was damage or something. But you can see it looks like everything's fine. But Charles Leclerc is going slowly. The Ferrari is out of the race. His engine is just gone as soon as he shifts into 8th gear. Charles Leclerc, after driving such a good race, is out of this Grand Prix. That is so disappointing for him. You can see he's out of the session, and we enter the pit lane. You can see I'm cutting to the pit box because that is the slowest pit lane ever. It's a great stop, 2.4 seconds. Actually, that's an average stop, but yeah, it was good enough. Onto the medium tires for the rest of this race, but yeah, huge disappointment for Charles Leclerc. You know, he had so much pace, so much. He could have overtaken us, if I'm being honest, and if he did the strategy really well, he would have gone past us. And yeah, an engine failure. His Ferrari engine just gave up on him, and yeah, that is really big disappointment for him. But it's good news for us because we don't have that much of a challenge. I mean, we do have Verstappen and Lance Stroll, but still Charles Leclerc is out of the running. We're up into P6 by now. I think one of the cars ahead of us is yet to pit, but everybody has pit on this lap now because we're on lap number 9. We did pit very early, much before the rest of the field, because we were having real issues on the tires. And you can see it's Antonio Giovinazzi and the Alfa Romeo that was yet to pit. As we move on to lap number 7, we've been running in rich mix, pushing hard, trying to make sure that we have a gap behind to Verstappen, and maybe we can try and bridge that gap ahead to Sergio Perez. To be honest, we're in a bit of a no man's land because the gap behind is quite big and the gap ahead is even bigger, so it'll be very difficult to bridge that gap ahead. But I also think that we'll be able to maintain the gap behind, seeing that we have so many laps left. Maybe in the last couple of laps we'll be in for some good action, because Verstappen, he might catch up to us. He could easily catch up to us. He's in a Red Bull, which is a really fast car, and even if Verstappen catches up to us, he might have a threat from Sainz behind because they're very close together. So this could be like two cars trying to attack us for P5 in this Grand Prix, and I kind of jinxed it because look behind us, Verstappen is within 1 second of us. He has DRS on us, but I think Carlos Sainz is attacking him. That's why he was going a little bit on the inside of the straight, because Carlos Sainz was actually trying to go for a move. As I said earlier, they could be very close together, and that has come true as we come through the final corner onto the final lap of this race, lap number 13. You can see that the gap behind is over a second, but as we move on to later on in the lap, it's gone down again because we struggled in that chicane. the village and the loop. So it was a kind of a difficult time. But Carlos Sainz and Max Verstappen, they're actually holding each other up. So even though they're within 1 second of me, they're holding each other up by battling side by side. So as they're coming through Brooklands and Luffield, this is a really nice overtaking spot. There's some fantastic battles happening here, and you can see Carlos Sainz trying to go down the inside of Max Verstappen in the Red Bull. McLaren versus Red Bull. It's a great fight. They're still side by side as they're coming through the old main straight. We're coming through Cops Corner. I'm still looking at the top left, and it looks like Carlos Sainz has gone ahead of Max Verstappen up into P6 on the final lap of this race. That was a great overtaking battle, and I really enjoyed it. Lewis Hamilton wins the 2020 British Grand Prix, and even in real life he did win the British Grand Prix. It's a 7th home win, but you can see we're still under threat from Carlos Sainz. We're using so much overtake mode because he's actually right there behind us. So we struggled in that Maggots and Beckett section a little bit there because we're struggling with grip a little bit, and you can see we're coming through the Vale chicane and we're coming through the final corner. We've held everything off. We've had a lot of attacks. It's been quite a difficult race, especially in the first half on that first stint on the soft tires, but we still managed the top 5 finish, which is absolutely great. And yeah, a lot of side by side battling. We get driver of the day. I think we deserve that. And yeah, let's watch this podium ceremony.
Plenty of action here at Silverstone. It was a memorable race, and what an impressive victory. And talk to me, what do you think it was that sealed the win for them?
I think that smart tyre management on track and very smooth driving definitely assisted in their victory today. That combination meant they got the absolute maximum out of their tyres at all times.
After a magnificent race, we can now see the drivers making their way to the podium. Once again, it's the Silver Arrows who take top spot, a well-earned victory for Mercedes.
So it's been another very successful race. You can see we grabbed another top 5 finish. It went down to the line. It was very close. I mean, one more lap and we might have lost this top 5 finish. We might have finished in P6 or P7. But yeah, that was a really good finish for us, where we've actually beaten Alex Albon in the Drivers' Championship so far. That mess up in the early laps meant that we gained 10 points on him. So yeah, he finished outside the points and we've gained 10 points on him. We were level in the driver's standings in the last race, but now we've gained 10 points on him, and that's great for us. A great race for the team. I'm not sure about my teammate Jordan King. I'm pretty sure he finished towards the bottom of the field, but we have a press interview with Claire.
Great work out there today. Let's have your thoughts. You really cut your way through the field today. What was your strategy?
I'm just gonna go ahead and give the credit to the chassis. I think that's probably the best thing to do.
It's safe to say you're smashing everyone's expectations, isn't it?
I think that we should say that F1 is a team sport.
It's your teammates' home Grand Prix. Do you think they enjoyed themselves out there today?
I think the option on the left is like the positive one. That's just the best option to go with.
Appreciate your time.
So now we're here to the post-race rivalry screen. You can see again our rival Sebastian Vettel beat us pretty badly. I mean, we've lost another 3 points to him. He's gained 3 points on us, which can be a lot. But in terms of acclaim, we did pretty well. Got a big acclaim boost in terms of sponsor goals. We got all our sponsor goals except for A plus F. We qualified in P11 instead of in the top 10. But guys, if you did enjoy this video, be sure to smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, and turn on notifications. This is F1ntastic Gaming.